It is my 13th as the head of school. I grew up in Minnesota and I went to a high school completely different than the field school. I graduated with 710 other students. Our senior class is 72, so it's a big difference here and there. I was a runner and a cross-country skier. Cross-country skiing was my main sport, and I followed that passion. It took me to the east, up in Massachusetts, to go to school. I went to Williams College, and then came here as a teacher right out of college, and found, after having studied economics and history, I found myself teaching math here at the field school and coaching cross-country running and track. And I found a place that I loved dearly. Philosophically, the school just kind of was a perfect fit for my interests and passions. I never knew that I was going to become a lifelong educator, let alone find myself here all these years. 2 years after I started here, I met another teacher in the math and science department who later became my wife. Carrie is still at the school working here in the internship program, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And now we have two amazing sons, one in the 10th grade and 12th grade here at the field school. So it is a family thing for all of us. And the community's been wonderfully supportive of us and the kids. They have a great experience here. They are happy that they don't have to see me all the time. I'm happy that I don't have to see them all the time, but I'm also very, very happy that they're here at the field school. So we're going to show you the school, and we have some fun and games today, a little interactive. I'd love to get to know a little bit about you, and so I'm going to ask you to participate, if you're comfortable, with a showing of hands to some questions, and then maybe this allows you to get to know each other a little bit. Would you raise your hand if you're... Take a stab at what the highest number is?
18.
18? Well, that's awesome. But they don't all go to the field school yet, right? Not yet. Maybe. Okay. Well, congratulations and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
It as a need, including those of us that are my generation who have children here at the school or at that age. We appreciate you for so many reasons. As you're representing your children who are trying to parent your grandchildren, you have an uncanny knack of sometimes getting our kids to talk about the things we can't get them to talk about. And we're grateful to you for that. We find ourselves in an era where it's really important. The human connection between human beings seems to be sometimes at risk. And maybe you've encountered this too, as I do when I go home. My kids and my wife and I too, we seem to bury ourselves in our devices and online and exploring and emailing and forgetting sometimes the art of conversation or the art of human contact. And I want to invite you and thank you for sharing your stories with your grandchildren about what it was like to grow up in a house without TV. How did you ever entertain yourself?
Somewhere, I don't know what we did.
Radio.
You remember the icebox?
We're going to have more on this later. We'll pick up on some comments later in the later in the program. But we want to transition now to other aspects of the program, starting with giving you a sense of the field school through the eyes of our alumni, as told in a video. Shortly right after that, we'll have also a musical performance. So first a video and then a musical performance, and I'll be back up in a few minutes.
Be very comfortable with who I am. Field embraces the uniqueness of every student. They're not trying to produce these cookie cutter kids.
If it weren't for the field school, probably wouldn't be rocking such a cool beard. If it weren't for the field school, I think I would have developed in my high school years with a much more, I don't want to say bitter, but I think I would have been more callous, and I think I would have been more jaded, and I think I would have come out worse. otherwise.
If it weren't for the field school, I wouldn't have such a strong sense of self today and such confidence in what I believe in and my own passions and how I can bring them to other people.
Field really allowed me to gain the self-confidence to realize my full potential.
If it weren't for field, I wouldn't have been encouraged to speak my mind. I wouldn't have been encouraged to follow my heart. I wouldn't have been encouraged to make mistakes and, get up and do it again.
If it weren't for the field school, I wouldn't have such confidence in the passions that I'm trying to pursue that may or may not be reasonable.
I wouldn't be confident in trusting myself to make choices that don't necessarily follow the norm of what everyone else does.
If it weren't for field, I probably would be in grad school learning to teach history, which I think is an awesome profession, but I'm glad that I discovered my true passion.
If it weren't for field, I would have taken the least risky, most narrow path that probably opened itself in front of me.
I don't think that I would have had the confidence to take some of the risks that I have in my life.
And that has been hugely valuable, so thank you.
If it weren't for the field school, I would not be the person I am today. In terms of courage, in terms of knowing who I am, and being comfortable about who I am.
If it weren't for field, I would be forcing myself to do something I didn't love because I thought it was important to someone else.
If it weren't for the field school, I think I would have struggled much more to come through those high school years to a place of confidence.
If it weren't for the field school, I probably could have checked off
What you do to the environment.
And Nate, what were we sort of learning about while we did this simulation?
Easter Island.
The story of Easter Island. So great, thank you, Nate. I'm gonna bring. And they're gonna tell you a little bit about the World Peace Game after you see a very brief clip of what that game looks like. So, Zeke.
Oh yeah, I'm Eliza, hi. So we played the World Peace Game in 6th grade. So the World Peace Game required me to develop new skills that will help me as I grow into the person I am today. My role in the game was the president of the World Bank, and I had to ensure everyone that everyone had a certain amount of money to win the game. I learned how doing certain things will have certain consequences. For example, if you arrived into the room where we played and you were late, then if you arrived after the bell was rung, you were fined. And it was a pretty ridiculous amount of money, but it was pretty fun. I also learned how to be thorough in my work. There are a lot of things where we have to be thorough in, such as fake contracts to buy fake nuclear weapons. And so this was like a really good experience, especially you gain an experience of how to trying to solve 50 world problems with 24 really hyper 6th graders, and you kind of learn how to adapt to that. But just after playing, I learned how I could handle a high pressure situation with confidence and just kind of get over that, but not being scared.
Alright, my name's Olivia, and in the World Peace Game I was the weather deity. So I did two things. I controlled the weather.
I fined people when they spoke out of turn, which that was pretty fun. I controlled stocks too, and just a lot of things like when we had battles and stuff, you had to roll dice and stuff like that. And I was the one who rung that little bell in the video. So the World Peace Game for me was a lot about like leadership and bonding as 6th graders because we were all pretty new to each other and we had to save the world from climate change and a bunch of other stuff. It was all about respect too because you didn't want to talk when someone else was talking and it was fun.
My name is Aaron Bachman. I am the head of the 12th grade here at Field. First of all, I just wanted to thank all of you for all the things that you do for our students. As a grade head here at Field, I interact with seniors, in fact, students of all ages on a daily basis. While I do, unfortunately, spend an inordinate amount of my time replacing lost pencils and resetting Chromebook passwords, I do sometimes have the pleasure of actually discussing with students their dreams and their goals. What I hear from our students in these conversations is that they receive an overwhelming amount of support from their families. And many, many times, it's you all, the grandparents, who are singled out by students as their key allies, as their strongest supporters. You all serve as role models, as confidants, as cheerleaders, and as friends. And clearly you have a special place in the hearts of our students. So on behalf of all the teachers and the administrators here at Field, I just want to say thank you. So perhaps the best way that we can express our appreciation here at Field is to give you a sense of our student experience. So you've already heard from our youngest students here, the 6th graders, about their impressions and what they do here. And now it's time to turn to our oldest and theoretically wisest students, our seniors. So as many of you know, at Field we've crafted our school mission around 3 principles: self-discovery, skills of mind, and generosity of heart. And today I have 3 seniors here with me who are going to briefly tell you about what Field means to them and how it relates to a particular part of our mission. So,
the generosity of heart. For the first 2 of those years here, I wasn't really interested in participating in the Field community. The summer before my 10th grade year, my middle school head, Susan Greenspan, approached me and asked if I would like to participate in leading a weekly lunch with some high school girls and some middle school girls. The lunch was a chance for middle schoolers to interact with high school girls while having a safe space to talk about anything they wanted. I was initially surprised to have been considered for the position. I wasn't really the type of person who would want to spend my lunch with a bunch of middle schoolers. But once the lunches started, I fell in love with being able to speak to the girls and being able to be a helping hand to them. Whether it was a question about the high schooler, what high school was like, boys, or how to deal with stress in academic work. As a senior in my last year at Field, I really started to think about our mission statement. When I think about generosity of heart, I think about Susan's generosity for giving me the opportunity to lead and be a role model to the younger girls of the Field community. Thank you.
Alright, hi everyone. I'm Jack, and I'm here to explain how Field exemplifies skills of mind. The first thing to really understand about Field skills of mind, well, academic courses are indeed a very large part of it. We cannot only focus on them. We also must treat the artistic side of our minds just as importantly, which is why we have so many great studio classes. Every year, except for senior year, students are required to take 1 studio class. And in senior year, you can still take one, but you're not allowed to take more than 1, and that is something I'm sad about. But like I said, I absolutely love studios here at Field because you can do anything from photography to ceramics to a cappella to musicals. I'm in my 3rd year in the a cappella club here, which is an actual class, and I'm so happy about that. and I am one of 2 basses there. As for musicals, I was in my musical my freshman year. It was Pippin. I loved it. But that's a tradition that keeps going at Field. Without the arts side, the academic side, which is a series of math and science classes that will track for you, you just don't get the sense of cohesion without that. I am in the highest math and the highest science that Field has to offer. I'm in the 4-person advanced math seminar class. It is tiny. I can't decide whether I love it or hate it because of that. And I'm also in physics 2. Both of these are fairly challenging, but with the support and help from Aaron and my teachers, I am getting through them very well. And finally, we also have clubs in SHAM, as we call it, which is study hall, and I can't remember the rest of the acronym. But for that, there's jazz band, which is we meet 2 times a week and audition-based entry.
Julia, I'm going to talk about self-discovery. I've been at the Field School since 7th grade, but for the 2nd semester of 10th grade, I lived in Sydney, Australia. While I was there, I attended my neighborhood public school. Mossman High School had 1,000 students, 30 kids per class, and the teachers went by Miss and Sir. They had a bell that signaled the end of class, and during exams, the gym was filled with rows and rows of desks. While this may seem like a normal high school experience, it could not be more different than Field. Regardless, Field had prepared me for that challenge. Over the past 6 years, Field has provided me with independence, confidence, and the ability to embrace new experiences. Several unique aspects of Field, our internship program, our sports teams, and our teachers' willingness to spend time with every student individually have been especially meaningful to me. For my first couple of years at Field, I would dread internships because I found it so stressful to go into a new environment alone and without any knowledge of how anything worked. However, year after year, that anxiety slowly diminished because I gained the perspective and experience to know that I would soon feel comfortable and able in whichever internship I had that year.
Yet, it makes us double down on what the school is rather than aspire to be something different than what we are. This is really near and dear to me. It's something that is particularly challenging to sustain and maintain at a time that in order to keep class sizes size 11 and have well-compensated, not highly compensated, but fairly compensated teachers in the classroom, to have a commitment to financial aid that we have as a small school without much of an endowment is an expensive proposition. And I'm not leading now again to another financial pitch, but again, if you want to support the school, we really welcome that. But I'm leading this because it is expensive. And I think our society is really trying to figure out how to get its head around this. And I'm worried about the direction it's headed. And so I want to share a story about, again, I told you a little bit that I was from Minnesota. I want to tell you a little bit about the arc of my experience as I understand it. Remember talking to my grandfather about his schooling experience. He had a one schoolhouse education. He went
so we have lunches for everyone right under, by the fireplace right there, right under the Elizabeth Ely painting. And we have lunches right by the back door over there. And your grandkids will join you soon. And if you haven't already noticed, there are some activities on the table for you guys to do together with your grandkids. And you can turn them in to anyone with a name tag, any teacher or faculty member or me or Sean, and you can get a prize for candy. So there you go. Very good prize. Yeah, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.